Hello, good evening, and good afternoon to all of you from wherever you are joining us today. I hope everybody is safe and sound. Welcome to Microsoft Reactor Bengaluru livestream event. My name is Rashmita, and I'm the event planner for Bengaluru Reactor. In today's session, our speaker will cover an introduction to Azure, App Services, Kubernetes, and will also give a hands-on demos. Today's session will be approximately 60 minutes with Q&A session, so please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. The speaker will answer all your questions in between or after the session. Request all of you to keep your mics muted during the session. I would now like to welcome Vivek Sridhar, our speaker. Vivek is a tech enthusiast and an open source contributor with around 15 years of experience in the software industry. He works at Microsoft as a Senior Developer Product Marketing Manager. I will now hand over to Vivek to begin the session. Over to you, Vivek.
Hey Rashmita, thank you very much. So I just want to, give an introduction to what we are trying to do from a discussion perspective today and also on 28th, where it's a two-part series. This is obviously the first part, and of first part, what we are planning to do today is it's more from introduction to the Azure and cloud service and we'll talk about how this cloud is structured, how Azure is structured, how to get started with Azure from a portal perspective, from Cloud Shell, and we'll see a couple of things like how we can deploy apps in Azure in various different ways using compute. And obviously, these everything will be in a demo format, and we will be doing a lot of hands-on demos there. And in the second part of the series, which is on 28th, we will cover um, we will basically cover the the serverless part of it, deep dive into serverless, and also cover the DevOps perspective, and you can deploy apps through DevOps. Deep diving into cloud, CI and CD, and we will see the demos in terms of deployment versus continuous delivery, and also some use cases around GitHub Actions and other stuff. So it's kind of really packed with a lot of things, so if you have questions, please feel free to post it in the chat and ask me, at the end of the session, you can unmute and ask me questions as well. So we will make sure that, we answer all the questions or, at least get back to you if there is something which I cannot answer in these sessions. Given that, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Vivek. I started my career with IBM India Software Labs as a software developer. Then I was passionate about DevOps, so I moved into HCL Technologies as a DevOps architect, working with enterprise DevOps, end-to-end DevOps for them and building solutions for them. And then I was in startup as a head of DevOps, building the DevOps team. Again, it's a startup DevOps end-to-end. It's kind of different when compared to the enterprise DevOps. And again, I had my own startup. I was part of DigitalOcean as a developer advocate, and today I work at Microsoft as a developer product marketing manager from a developer perspective. So that's my background. But I just want to give you an introduction to what is cloud. I don't want to give a definition of cloud and other things. I just want to walk you through how this all things got evolved. 15 years back, when we were doing, development, and how we used to deploy these applications and how we used to work with the on-premises, was that there were so many questions for us to answer, right? Because everything was in-house and it was on-premises, and very basic questions, how do we physically access the servers, What happens when something like power outrage happens, how do we handle that, backing up, networking, patching. So all these are very, these questions you never ask nowadays because you are using cloud. But when it was on premises, this was the situation, right? It was, so many questions to answer, and we used to go into those server rooms with all jackets, wearing those jackets and other things, and making sure that you don't feel, you don't fall sick because of cold and other things. So that was the on-premises days. When digital transformation started, when digitalization started, the hardware, the OS, and the security, everything moved into infrastructure as a service, right? When it moved into infrastructure as a service, it was easier to enable the servers, procure the servers, and this was infrastructure as a service. I'm talking about from a public cloud perspective, which is accessible via internet. So you're only worried about patching or backup or OSs and monitoring OSs, scaling your applications. But again, you're not really worried about procurement or going into who is going to getting the access to the rooms for these things, to access these servers, etc. So you're not really worried about all these things. So there is these, that is the infrastructure as a service when it came in, and when digital transformation was taking place. When there is, a lot of digital transformation happened, and PaaS layer came into picture. So you are, you're only focusing on scaling your application, or you're focusing on how do I, get the right servers for your application, right? You're not really worried about backups, you're not worried about your patching systems, worried about growing your apps. In fact, so this, this setup, right, is still have a lot of questions, but you're, it's kind of easier to build and deploy your applications in past layers, right? So compute moved from on-premises to infrastructure as service to PaaS, and now it's serverless, right? It's very simple. You're only focusing on architecting your app. Rest, the reliability, the scalability, the performance, the security, everything, availability as well. Everything is taken care by the cloud service provider, and you're not really worried about it. You're just focusing on building your application and deploying that application on cloud. So this is how, things got evolved in cloud, and from an on-premises to serverless. There are so many things which came in and went, through digital transformation happening. And even today the digital transformation is happening in various aspect and various enterprise products as well. So uh, given this, right, I just want to simplify the cloud. Okay, there are only three things which you're going to focus on cloud. There might be, n number of services. Don't get bogged down by the number of services which is out there, and you will be thinking that, I need to understand so many things, and how do I build on it. So it's not that, it's very simple. There is only three things which you need to focus on when you're building something on cloud, which is network. That is how these applications, how these different services interact with each other, how this is connected to each other, and how you can access it and stuff like that. And then there is storage, right? And then data, where do you store your data? There are different kinds of storages, and understanding what are those different kind of storages and what purpose we need to use these different storages. It could be for blob storage. What is the use case for this object storage, which is a blob storage of Azure, or what is the use case for storing data in a, attached SSDs and stuff like that. So, and then the compute. Compute is nothing but your CPUs and RAMs and other compute services which is out there. So it is, you just need to understand how I should be using, effectively using compute for different kind of applications and different kind of apps you are trying to host it on cloud, and obviously the storage and the network which is required. And these are the three things you are also going to look into when you are even purchasing a laptop. So, if you're purchasing a laptop, you're looking in network and storage, how much storage it has, and compute power, etc. So it's the same concept. You're just taking it to the cloud and you're trying to use it in cloud. So from a developer's perspective, so my discussions today and on 28th May is on how a developer can use Azure. It's nothing, like an architect, or how an enterprise uses it and stuff like that. It's more from understanding the kind of services and the kind of activities a developer can do within in Azure. And one of the most important thing is the functions, which we are going to have a deep dive discussion in my next session. But as of today, understand that function is nothing but a simple executable code which you can execute. It's a simple piece of code doing a simple job, and you can run it on an event basis. So then there is a logic apps where you can actually orchestrate these processes, orchestrate these functions, orchestrate with different set of services. You can connect and trigger with different set of services through these logic apps. And then there is event grids, like how do I manage events? There are going to be a lot of requests which is coming, or how do I manage these triggers and other things. So event grid will make sure that you can use logic apps and functions together. And there is database available, different set of databases, Cosmos DB, SQL and other things, and different kind of storages, file storages, block storages, and there are different security, key vault and other things which is available as a service, and then IoT service, analytics service, and cognitive services, and intelligence services for monitoring and other things. So the platform for developer, right? This is from the platform perspective. This is from where you are actually connecting to the cloud, and these are the services, these are the set of things which are available for you to use from a platform perspective. But what all we also have is, from a developer perspective, from his development machine where he is developing the code, there is IDE support, which is Visual Studio Code, where you can integrate with a lot of services. Then there is DevOps support, where you can design code from your laptop and push it to the GitHub, and from through GitHub it goes to the platform uh, via the GitHub services and via the GitHub Actions, or through Azure DevOps services. And then there is obviously local development environment. So when I say local development environment, it means that you can actually do a couple of coding, couple of things, from a local development perspective. And then there is monitoring service, and then visually debugging histories. And it's basically you can debug through your Visual Studio Code and other things. So this is the complete picture of the from a developer perspective. These are the things which are available for a developer to work through. But I want to give a starting point as well. If you're getting started with Azure and or with any of the Microsoft technologies, easier way to start is always go to docs.com. Just go to docs.com and you will be able to see, you'll be able to access all the required information, and it's very easy, and it's open source. By the way, it's docs.com is open source. You can also provide feedback or write a documentation, do a pull request, and it is one of the largest open source projects on GitHub. So make sure that you contribute as well whenever you get a chance. And then just go to docs.microsoft.com and /Azure, and you'll be able to find all the details about different set of services, different set of tools which are available out there, where you can learn about different things. So docs is just docs.microsoft.com/Azure, and you'll be able to able to do that. Um, So I mean, this is just for you to learn how to use docs.com. You can just go to docs.com and try to find serverless functions and see if you can find it based on your language. I mean, this is just a, just a challenge for you to play around. So what I'll do is right now, I'll deep dive into the demos. We will see Azure, understand Azure Portal, understand how Azure is structured, and then we will obviously go through the computes and deploy a couple of applications in these different set of computes, and then we will we will obviously go into containers and Kubernetes, which is also part of the compute service, right? So let me go back to the Azure portal. So this is the Azure portal. So if you can see this, um, this just log in and create your account. When you log in, you will be able to see different set of services. This is the Azure portal, which you can access and use it. Before I deep dive into this, where you can see all resources and groups, resource groups, etc. So let us try and understand what is a resource group, what is a resource, how these things are connected, and how exactly Azure works. So for that, I'll just go through this documentation on docs.microsoft.com. I'll just walk you through this documentation so that you can understand that. And after this session, I'm going to post this link on my Twitter handle so that you can get access to this specific link and also read through it. So it's basically starts with resources. So when I say resources, it's like anything in Azure is a resource. For example, if I come here and go and create a resource, and in my portal, I just go and say create a resource and say virtual machine. Ubuntu server is a virtual machine. So if I click on this, it's a resource. So basically, basic unit in Azure is called a resource, and it's it's this is how it is structured. So anything you create in Azure, a single network or a virtual box, or even spin up a serverless function service or a web app service, everything is called as a resource. Okay, and this resource is logically grouped into resource group. So you can see this, it's a logical grouping. So when I say resource group, it means in a resource group I can have multiple resources. So why I need to logically group it? Either I'm using developer environment, I'm using production environment, I'm using QA environment, or in a very sophisticated integration environment, system environments, and other things. All right, and I want to group these set of resources in developer environment, these set of resources into QA environment, these set of resources into production environment. How do I do that? I will be able to do that only logically, and you can create something called as a resource group, and under these resource group you can create resources. So if I have to create a virtual machine, I'm going to create a resource group here, and you can see this. I can go and create a resource group, create new one, or use an existing one, and the virtual machine name which will be part of this resource group. So a virtual box you're creating as a resource will be grouped under resource group, and within the same resource group I can create Kubernetes service, I can create app service, I can create different services, and keep it and access all the resources under all the resources under this resource group through search or other things. So just keep that in mind. Azure subscription is also a logical construct, and every resource group is either part of the Azure subscriptions. So I'll come more deeper into Azure subscription. Before we go and understand Azure subscription, we need to understand how exactly the Azure is working in terms of each of these services, right? So most important thing is there is something called as Azure Resource Manager, which is nothing but a REST API endpoint, which is available on top of any resource or anything. And this is where you can connect to the Azure as a service. And how do I connect to these services? So there are three things. Three ways you can connect. One is you can use something called as Azure CLI or Azure Portal, which I'm using right now, or you can use PowerShell to connect to the REST API endpoint. It is like it's the client which is out there, and the client is available with you. And through these client, you are actually connecting to the Azure resources through these three different clients. This is one of the client. So basically, this is the client which is talking to the REST API endpoint at the back end, which is Azure Resource Manager, and then it is spinning up different services. We'll talk about that as well. Here you can see there is a different set of client, which is Cloud Shell. You can, if you click on this button, there will be Cloud Shell which comes into picture. Let me close this. Okay, so this is Cloud Shell. This is the one of the thing, and there is CLI, and there is PowerShell, which you can use it for connecting. Don't worry about the Azure subscription resource and resource group. We will come to that later with how exactly this works. So there is a resource and REST API endpoint, which is Azure Resource Manager. But under that, each of the services having its own resource provider. So control to do activities on a specific uh, specific resource on via the Azure. It's very simple. It has to talk to Azure resource provider. So how does it work? From Azure Portal, I'll make a request to create a virtual box, and then virtual box is created, resource is created, but it needs some controls. So the controls are resource group and Azure subscriptions. So that's how it works. So this is an example how exactly this works. One is obviously PowerShell. Through PowerShell, I'm connecting to the Azure Resource Manager, and through Azure Resource Manager, Azure Resource Provider verifies the which service I'm asking for, and it creates a resource. And obviously, it has a path to take, resource group, and Azure subscription to verify. Right. So there is a validation. The control validation needs to be done. So who is actually requesting for this, and is it the right person asking for this? That is where the Azure Active Directory comes into place, where there are different tenants, and through these tenants there is Azure Resource Manager is getting trusted, and there is a user needs to be added into these tenants and should be able to access it. So each tenant has its own Azure subscription. So user is added there, and user is able to be validated through Azure subscription. Whenever he requests something, it goes through the tenants and verifies this user, and this is what he's asking for, and validation with the subscription. And then there is whether that user has a role to create a service or not. It verifies that through role-based access control, which is also there part of the subscriptions and tenants, which is in the Azure Active Directory. And then there is some kind of policies where what should be the right services need to be enabled, whether he has the role and other things. So there are a couple of policies which you can add, and there is a limit, resource limit, like how much limit he can set it up, right? There you can actually provide limits. Otherwise, I can keep creating services. So there has to be some kind of control on everything. So this is how Azure is set up, right? There is client, there is resource manager, there is REST API endpoint. Through Azure Portal or any of these clients, you connect, you do the activities, and through these set of services or set of security to verify this person. And then Azure subscription is nothing but a logical you're putting that as part of the um, resource group is going to be there can be n number of resource group under Azure one subscription. So, and then there is resources under resource groups. So this is how exactly it is going to be structured. Okay, so I'm coming back to the portal. I'm going to use portal as a client to do a couple of things. So let me go back and show you. There is nothing but portal menu, and you just need to uh, open this up and create a resource. I'll just show you how to create a virtual box just to getting started, just to help you understand a couple of things. This is the subscription. This is the high level. All resources are built under this, and then there is resource group. So I can create a new resource group or use one. We'll create a new one. One demo 001. So I'm not creating any new things. So you can just say VS um, Central India infrastructure. I'll not go deep dive into each and every things, because it's going to take a lot of time because we have a lot of things to cover. So just go through these. There are different kinds of images you can select, and you can select, or you can even upload your own images, and you can select the size. You can use any of these passwords and other things, and you can select the disk you want, the kind of disk you want, and everything you can select here. And there is networking. This is the virtual network, how the network is set up, and everything you can get to know through this, because there is subnets and there is network, outer layer network, etc. Then there is load balancing and other things. I'm not going deep dive into all the set of services which is there, all the set of parameters which is there. It's just that just understand all these things needs to be enabled, and you need to provide details, and then just go and review, and it validates. So Azure validates whether this is all the information given by the user is right or wrong. And once it is right, you just need to go here and create it. So that's how you can create a virtual box. I'm not going to deep dive into virtual box. It's because it's pretty basic and pretty easy to use and pretty easy to create and getting started. So you can definitely go back and do you know uh, get access to the docs.com, and access these, how you can create and how you can use this particular service. So let me deep dive into three aspects. One is um, app service, and then containers, and then we will see Kubernetes as a service and how exactly it all fits in. So let us go back and create app service. So this is where the PaaS layer comes into picture, right? I'm looking at hosting an application using app service. So I'm just going back and just creating a web app service. So I'll just click on web app service and say I'll create a new resource group. So everything within the Azure, um, you know you can see that it's subscription resource group. It's the similar kind of approach, and you just need to create new. I'm creating a new one. One demo 003. um, I'm just creating a resource group name, and this is where I need to provide the name of the resource. Okay, so it's basically the name of the resource is VS. It's already there 001. It's not there. Or you can either use code or Docker container. I'm using Docker container, and then I'm selecting which operating system. Anywhere I want to host this application. Then there is Linux plan. App service plans are very different. So basically, you can have basic plan, standard plan, and various other plans which is out there. You can understand it more when you go here, and you can see which one to choose. Or I mean, you just need to create a plan. This is the name of the plan, but this is the exact size and other things which you need to pick. So I'm picking developer and test and 1 GB or something, just for demo purpose. So it's free for F1. So a couple of things are free. Um, since I selected Docker, I can go back and also deploy a code. And but I just made sure that I'll choose a Docker. Either it could be a single container or Docker Composer, which is a combined Docker thing. So I could just do a quick start. That is the image sources. So this is there are different ways to deploy the Docker. Obviously, either use container registry of Azure where the images are stored, or you can use the Docker Hub or private registry, um, which is again not private registries. You creating your own, and Docker Hub is obviously it's Docker's image source which is available out there. So you can use any of these sources. Currently, I'm just using just a quick sample one just to show you the demo, but you can really make use of all these things. And I'll give you a link as well where I have done deep dive sessions on using different set of sources for deploying the containers and other stuff. So anyways, the you don't need monitoring today, but I'm just showing you enable is not available here because I'm using a free trial. But if you are in production and other things, you can obviously enable application insights. We're going to deep dive into this section, application insights, when we do the serverless and GitHub Actions and other things next on in my next session. So let us keep that in mind, and then we will just go back and review. So this is how you can easily go and create a web app. So you just need to have a container, and that container either on Docker Hub or on the or Azure Container Registry. Once you have these things ready, you just need to go back and um, just deploy, and it is available for use, right? So let's wait for some time while it is deploying. It will take some time to deploy. So while it is deploying, anyone had questions I can answer? No questions yet? Okay, cool. So let's wait for it to deploy, because there are three things. One, after this, we will see how we can do a container instance itself. Um, there's a different service for deploying the container instance. The difference between the app service is the app service plan is completely different from container instance. Container instance is restarted, it is kind of, you can scale it, you can replicate it and other things. App service, it's more from you actually getting the infrastructure. If you remember, I selected the different set of the free tier, but uh, there you can actually go back and select different set of service, different tiers for your app service to be deployed. So there is a difference between just doing an app service and also container instance. Let this is a simple web app which I deployed. This is the link to access it, and let me copy it and just show you how exactly it works. Not yet available. It is taking some time. This was just a Nginx service which we have. So something is missing. No, this service is up, but we need to wait for it to come. Okay. maybe this is the output of this particular service, not sure as well. So anyways, so this is how you can actually deploy it. So this will be the link for your applications to be enabled. It is just an Nginx backend container which I have deployed. It's just a quick start template which is there. You can use different different set of containers which is already there on different services. I don't have it, so I will not be able to deploy it, but you can definitely go back and try it and see how exactly it gets deployed. Your code gets deployed, and you can access this specific code. Okay, so this is the app service which I'm talking about, but when I did talk about different compute as well. Everything is from a PaaS layer perspective. So when you click on containers here, while creating a new resource, there's a container instance, and when you click on this container instance, um, you can go back and create a container instance. So basically we can create under the same resource group and name it as um, vs container. So here also I am using quick start image. Again, you can use Azure Container Registry or Docker Hub or any other kind of registry which you have. And this is the image source. Obviously, because I'm using quick start image, the image source is available here as an example. It's a hello world kind of an example, but you can, if I had a service, or if I had a container on container registry, the image on the container registry. So if I click on this, you'll be able to list the registry and select the images which is there, and also the tag name of the container. So that I have done a demo. I'll show you the link where you can actually go back and learn about it, deep dive session on containers itself. So basically this is just a quick start image, and I'm going to select that and go back, and in the networking I'll make it public. You can also have your own DNS name for accessing it as well. And restart policy is like restart whenever the container fails, or whenever never restart, or you can actually keep it on always on. So don't, so basically it's a policy where you can define what you want for this specific container. And then there is obviously environment variables and command overriding. This is from the Docker file. You might have things on Docker file already defined. You can actually override it through command overriding it for the external usage and other stuff. So that is something which you can do. And then review. Review is again validating it and create. So when you do this, it will create a container instance. So this is pretty simple. You have a container. It could be anywhere, Docker Hub or Azure Container Registry. You're just picking it from that, and you're deploying it directly onto the container instance. So it's basically a simple container running, and it it can keep running. You can replicate it, you can scale it, and everything through the container instance. So the more number of request comes into this, it keeps sales scaling, and you pay for the scale stuff. So that's how you can use container instance. And just wait for this to come up. Well, this we'll just see this has come up. No, I think this is the Nginx quick start service is the same thing. So let's wait for this to be deployed. While this is deploying, um, I'll just show you how you can get started with Kubernetes as a service. Oh, well, okay, this is anyways got deployed. Just give me a minute. So here is the container which is running already, and you can actually see this is the resource group and running. Container is running, and if you go to the containers, it is a running container, and how it is available for you to take a look at it. It's the state is running, so that means it is running. And let us go back. Maybe accessible via IP address. Just give me a minute. Yeah, so this is the welcome to Azure Container Instance. Um, so this is how you can easily deploy, right? You have a container, just host it on Azure Container Registry and just select a couple of things and you will be able to deploy it here. And by the way, you can deploy everything through Visual Studio. Um, I have, again, I'll share the link with you with the deep dive sessions, which is there. So that also we can take a look at it. But this is how you can actually deploy it, and it's easily available, easy to do it. Um, all you need is just have a registry and just select whatever you want, and then just say deploy, and the container is up and running. So let me go back and show you how to get started and work with Kubernetes. I'm not going to deep dive with the Kubernetes architecture and other things because that is itself is a 1 hour discussion, and I'll give all the links just after this demo, where that you get everything to go back and figure out. And it's a deep dive sessions which I have done, and which you can obviously access it. This is I've already created Kubernetes, so if I go and select all resources, my Kubernetes service is already there. I've already created a Kubernetes service because it takes some time to create. But I'll just show you what are the things you can, what are the things you can select from a create resource perspective, so that you know I'll just show you the Kubernetes service. So I'll just give any of these the same resource group, and you give group show as the name. It's already there, so group show as the one, and select the whichever region, availability zones, Kubernetes version, and number of nodes you want, and then change the sizes you want. You're looking for, I've just selected some size, and then there is pool, node pool. That is nothing but there are different kind of nodes which are available. It's a kind of master slave setup, right? Kubernetes cluster itself is that. And there is node pools, there is virtual nodes enabled. Virtual nodes itself is a big session as well. It's more from how do we scale through Azure Container Instance and Kubernetes connected to each other through virtual nodes. Whenever there is a request coming in through virtual nodes, I am able to deploy pods onto the container instance and run n number of pods. There is no limit, and that is how you can scale your application from 0 to 100 applications of your pod. So that's something which is a very interesting concept, and probably we will do that session as well in coming weeks. Um, Obviously, all these things are about connecting to the Kubernetes authentications and services and other things which are there, networking, integrations and other things. Container integrations, everything. So I don't want to go deep dive into each and every parameters. It's going to take a lot of time. So there is tagging and review and just go and create. So not everything is important, but there are a couple of things which are very important from authentication and networking perspective. One is trying to make these services available over HTTP, and also using the authentication like service principles and other things to connect with different set of services within the Azure. So I just need to go back and just click on create button, and your cluster will be ready within 5 minutes or something. So I've already created it just to make sure we can access the uh, Kubernetes cluster. So it's already available, up and running, and it's available for us to use. Um, so I'm going to create Cloud Shell now. This is, if you click on this button, right, this button, there is a Cloud Shell, which is there. And um, specifically, it's a storage, and it has a storage, and then there is a client for you to do couple of activities, and this comes with already installed lot of things like kubectl, like different set of different set of services, like tools in fact. So Python installed, Docker installed, all these important set of tools which is required, like Git install, Git client is installed. So everything is installed and ready for you to use. And this is one of the best tools you can use in Azure, because it's pretty easy, especially from a Kubernetes perspective, right? I have Kubernetes uh, I have Kubernetes cluster which is ready, and then now I have Cloud Shell with Azure CLI installed, with all the other required set of tools for me. It is installed, so which is very simple to use and very easy to use, right? And just to give you an example, right? AZ, if I just click on AZ, right, I already have the Azure CLI as well. So this is one of the client. The Azure Portal is one of the client. Azure AZ is one of the client. I can even go select PowerShell here and bring on the other client as well. So which is very interesting to see, right? So this is this is one way of doing the compute. So what I'll be doing is, let us go back and deploy an application onto the Kubernetes cluster. And I've already created the cluster for us. And how do I deploy? I need to get an access control. I need to access the cluster. So how do I get the access to the cluster? I'll go back and say use the AZ command to get the access. I hope that is the command. Yes. Okay, so now is nothing but I'm adding the configurations, and my credentials is getting added into the config file, the source file. So I can access it. So it's very simple. I'll also show you how exactly it is getting connected. I have two nodes and one virtual node as well. So I'm getting three things, two nodes, and you can see there is virtual node as well. So basically what I'm trying to do here is, I have a cluster, I have a nodes available for me. All I need to do is now create something like Azure OAuth YAML file. I'm just doing a simple uh, you know code which is out there, Azure hyphen OAuth, right? Yeah, OAuth dot YAML. Okay, so I'm just creating the YAML. I'm taking the code of Azure, code of the YAML file to deploy uh, the Azure Wood service. So I have done a deep dive session for this, so don't worry, I'll just give you the link on how exactly this is fitting in, so that you'll understand from end-to-end perspective. I hope I have copied it right. Yeah. Okay, now I have a YAML file. YAML is the new code, right? It is the code to deploy your applications, the way you need to design your deployments and other things. It's all here. We can go through it later as well. Now all we need to do is to apply. We just need to go and apply Azure port. So it's kubectl command, which is the Kubernetes command. So I don't want to go deep dive into all those things because it is definitely going to take a lot of time. It's kubectl. You just need to type in that, and you see that all the things getting deployed. So there are couple of things. One is I have a backend, I have a front end, and both backend and front end is deployed through deployment service, and then also there is a service attached to on top of it, which is nothing but to access these services. And backend service is obviously it's in the backend, and front end service is the service where we are going to access it. And it is, the backend service is nothing but a database, Redis database. So the front end service is just talking to that service. So obviously the structure, and you can see different kind of structures. Most important things are different versions of API and how services are attached on top of it, and how the front end service is actually talking to the back end service via the load balancers and other things. So you can see the way it is getting connected. So while we speak, the service is getting enabled. Um, so let us see whether it has come up. Yeah, external IP is available. So I'll just copy this external IP and post it here. So you can see it's a kind of an voting app, whether it is blue or purple voting. You're a blue person or a purple person, so you can just select uh, whichever uh, whichever suits you. I mean, it's a simple application. So the way we have defined, or the discussion we have taken today is, we have Azure, we have a different structure of Azure. We went through the structure of Azure, and there are a couple of different services or different computes which is available for you as a developer to deploy applications. One was easiest, and we already know, everybody have been using it, is the VMs, the virtual boxes. I didn't do a demo for that, but there is something called as Azure Web App Service, which is more from just deploying your application, and you also need to select the infrastructure at the back end, what you want for that particular compute. And for container, it's more from uh, putting your container in the registry and taking that registry and deploying that code onto container instance and scaling your applications directly through that. And you really are not worried about going and worrying about the infrastructure at the backend, but it is just a PaaS layer which is scaling. So that's how you are using container. This is a single container, right? Or you can also use a composer as well. Um, but Kubernetes is something really important, because it is not just a service where you go and deploy application. It's basically an completely infrastructure management, right? In it, orchestrating the content containers, it is providing you an interface to manage your workloads. And once it provides you a interface, right, there's a cluster, there are different nodes, as we saw. There are different nodes to play around with. You have different VMs at the back end, and logically you are structuring it through namespaces, through deployments, through services. Now it's called pods, and it is getting logically deployed onto the server. So that's how you're using various different computes and to deploy applications. And obviously there is databases and storages in the backend you are going to specifically deep dive into to while you are building all these things, right? There is different SQL, no SQL databases, and blob storages, which is an object storage just to maintain your images and other things, right? So there are different kinds of services at the backend you're going to use while building the complete application. But this is how you're going to set it up. And we will definitely on 28th May we are going to see the second part of this. We're going to see serverless, deep dive into serverless, use cases of different use cases of serverless. We're going to see GitHub Actions, and we're going to see um, DevOps, how DevOps come into picture and how it is used, and everything. Obviously, we will do it through a demo, how things work. Let me go back to the where is it? Yeah. So here I'm going to give you um, a link because I've done a deep dive session on containers, how exactly we work with the local container, building a Docker file, what are the commands in the Docker file, and taking this Docker file to the Azure and hosting it on registry, how to get access to the registry, how to deploy through registries and other things. So just go through this link. You will be able to get the complete deep dive session on the containers and more from the Azure container instance. And also I have done the Azure Kubernetes service as well, from building a cluster to building the notification and building the how this you know, architecture of Kubernetes is, and how exactly this is structured, what is a pod, what is everything, simple ways, and also Bunton Burns, his complete complete details of his 50 days to become a hero in Kubernetes, right? So I've given all the details there. Just go through this specific link as well. Just go through that, and then obviously there is different set of things which I would love to talk about later, but before that I would love to see if there are any questions which we can answer, right? um, Is it? Okay, any questions which came on? Oh yeah, this is true. I should have deployed it in India. So it's basically you are selecting the Linux plan or the other plan. I showed you that while you create, the question is about what stack or web app when I created this. The web app is obviously it was a simple code container. It does not matter which stack it was, but again, the platform, if you see, I selected the Linux plan. So when you deploy, you actually deployed it on the Linux. Any more questions? Any more questions we have? I can take that. Okay, if there are no questions, I'll just I'll just walk you through. I mean, if you're in India, right, you can obviously take part in Azure Developer League, which we are running, where you can learn about 7 different technologies as well. I know there is a lot of collections, Microsoft Learn collections, which you can learn, and you know you can obviously take part in the hackathon and other things which is happening out there. So do check out and see if you can access to. That's it from my end. If there are any questions, I can obviously take questions. Otherwise, we can chill out on Friday night, right? Thank you very much, everyone. I think there are no more questions out there. So we will see you on 26th, sorry, 28th, with more from, you
One
know,
second. Hello, Sridhar.
yeah,
Sridhar, this is Anish. I have one question for you. Okay,
sure.
see, I believe webinar was recorded and the same will be hosted on YouTube at a later point of time. But see, the trouble is when you go to the YouTube Reactor channel, even the YouTube India Reactor channel, there are so many so many playlists that you would, and it is hard to find today's video. So I think the Reactor channel can be made much better. Like maybe, is it something like I just go to the YouTube Reactor channel and in that search box there, I just key in today's webinar agenda, the meaning the title on the in that search bar.
Yeah,
And
I think it's a good point. We are also looking into how better we can do this. Maybe one of the few things which we might be we might be doing, or we are missing to do is as well, is probably add the link in the meetup.com itself, in
yes,
the comment section or in the discussion section, where you can access the session, sessions details is there. So video is uploaded, right? So direct link to the session itself, so people can access directly through that session. Or what we can do is, we can host something like a GitHub repo and build that out. But anyways, we are also looking into making it much better and user friendly. We are also looking into it. Thanks for the suggestion, by the way.
welcome, Vivek. I've spoken about the same to another host. I don't remember his name. Okay, I believe last year he was hosting a lot of these Reactor events. Okay, so I told him also the same thing that let's say I attend today's event. For any reason, I'm not able to complete the event, and if I'm going offline, okay. Now, if I want to come back and review the video again, it would be really nice. Like, say in Meetup, you can see what are your saved events or your past events or something like that. So at least next to the title there, if it says that, okay, so this is your you missed out the webinar. So here's the link. I think that would be helpful. Also, I have even joined the webinars from Microsoft Research team or the Microsoft Mechanics team. What they do is every time after the session is over, they send us a link. Okay, they send that on-demand link to our email address so that we can view it even if in case we miss the session. Even if I don't attend the session, as far as I've registered it, I will get the link later on after 2 or 3 days in my inbox. Maybe that is
Definitely, I
something
think
that the can
that's
take up.
definitely a valid question, and we also have it in mind that it's a kind of very difficult to search back the series session which is out
Yeah,
there.
because the
So
information on your the YouTube channel is very overwhelming. It's like I know you want to look for something else, but you will end up going into many rabbit holes there because there are so many other interesting topics. Everything else looks interesting, and you will forget what is it that you came to that page for in the first place.
yeah, it's true. It's true. I understand the pain. I understand the pain. So yeah, we'll definitely work through it, and we'll plan this out, and we'll make sure that it helps you.
Sure, Vivek. I think it is. I think if you guys follow that, follow what the Microsoft research team or this Microsoft mechanics team is doing, okay, I think that's much better. Even though I attend the session, okay, I don't even have to go to Meetup. The on-demand webinar link is sent to my email ID. Okay, I don't know how they are doing the recording and stuff like that, but it is sent. Okay, maybe you
Definitely,
guys can pick up on them.
we'll take a look at it. Thanks, man.
Okay, so that would be all.
Cool. I think we don't have any more questions. So let me so we can close the session then. Sure, Ashmita.
Yes, yes, Vivek. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Anish, for your feedback. Surely we'll work on this.
You're welcome, Vishnu.
Yeah. Thank you and have a great weekend, all of you.